Google created a very real SORA competitor, but how does it match up? You can now realistically expand any video into any aspect ratio, and one of the biggest announcements in the history of video games happened just last week. This is your AI film news of the week. I want to kick things off by saying this is probably going to be one of our biggest episodes, so buckle up, grab some eggnog, let's get to the news. I want to kick things off by talking about an interesting partnership that we saw pop up in Hollywood. There's an AI filmmaking studio called Asteria, and they do a lot of incredible work in the AI space. Well, they actually said they're partnering up with Moonvalley, the AI video generation company, to create an AI video model that is ethically sourced and copyright cleared. This is a really big announcement because a lot of the AI video generators make some studios inside of Hollywood a little nervous to release the content. The studio said that this new model should be released in early 2025, but of course we've yet to see any of the videos generated using the model, so it's really hard to say if this actually will have a place in a Hollywood production pipeline. But of course, you'll be the first to know here on this channel. The next big piece of news that of course you saw is the fact that SORA is finally here. It took about 11 months, but OpenAI finally released at least a turbo version of SORA that you can play with today. Here's a few examples from their website. So we have this guy on this paddleboard with his dog, and yeah, looks pretty good, but it is pretty basic. We have this shot of a jungle, and then it rack focuses to this bird here. And yeah, that's a really dynamic shot. We have the shot here of this light coming from behind this guy, kind of creating this, I don't know, just like stylized aesthetic, which looks pretty good. And then we have this shot here of this like caveman guy walking around the woods. I'd say the physics on the walk cycle, it's not great, but honestly, it did a pretty good job and the camera movement is really dynamic. So really interesting generation from SORA. So using SORA is incredibly easy. All you have to do is go to the SORA website. You can go to the bottom and type in a prompt. Like all of the other AI video generators out there, I don't recommend just typing in a prompt alone. I really recommend going in and uploading an image and then generating a video from that image. So to upload an image, just click the plus icon, go to upload image or video, and just select your image. I'll do this close-up of coffee being poured into a coffee cup. So now we'll do a quick little prompt here. Let's say coffee being poured into a coffee cup. Light camera shake, slow zoom out. And you have the ability to go in here and select the aspect ratio. You'll be 16:9 for most use cases. You can change the resolution all the way to 1080p, which is pretty great. You also have the ability to make video clips that are up to 20 seconds long, which is pretty awesome. And then you can select the number of variations. For this one, we'll just go ahead and do 2 and go ahead and click create video. So while we wait on that generation to render, I just want to let you know that we actually created a completely free AI video prompting guide for SORA. You'll find a link below this video to download that, and it just has more information and some ideas on how you can generate better prompts inside of this tool. Okay, and after about 60 seconds, we have generated our scene here. Let's take a look. So we have coffee being poured into a coffee cup, and somehow it just disappears, and then the coffee is being poured, which looks okay, especially if you just kind of use the last part of that video clip there. The problem is the lighting completely changed, which isn't great, and just generally it's zooming in instead of zooming out, so it didn't exactly follow my prompt here. And then we have our second generation here. And you can see that it literally changed the entire scene. The lighting's different, the cup is different, the carafe that's pouring the coffee is different. So that's one thing that you're going to see a lot of inside of SORA. Because it is intelligently creating a 3D scene, sometimes it just simply decides, no, I don't want to use the image that you inputted, I want to create something completely different. And that happens quite a bit. I should also note that SORA is $200 a month, which does not make it a very affordable option for independent artists. But if you work in a studio environment, $200 a month is probably not that bad. So overall with Sora, I'd say that the realism that you can get from the tool is really incredible, but you have to do multiple generations to get there. This is not simply upload an image and get the exact generation that you're looking for. It's probably going to take you anywhere from 4 to 10 renders to get something like what you are looking for. And the model is incredibly intelligent, but sometimes that's actually to its detriment. Because while I really like how it has the ability to create really realistic physical dynamics, like if you're doing water simulations or someone's walking, it tends to do a pretty good job. The problem is it also understands scene dynamics. And so if you start with one image in one scene with a specific composition, sometimes it'll just dance around and do other shots that have nothing to do with the input image that you uploaded. So sometimes you can run into some issues there. And the biggest reason why you probably would not want to use Sora is simply the fact that the content filters tend to be overly strict. So I was working on an AI film project this last week that was in an animation style. It just simply used a raccoon character. And many times whenever I was working on that film project, it's just a simple children's story about a raccoon, it would block the generation. So clearly the content filters are a little overly strict and make it very challenging when you're working on a film project. However, that being said, I do recommend checking out the tool, especially if you have the $20 a month ChatGPT plan, because you do get 50 generations a month using Sora. So you might as well just hop in there and see what the tool is capable of creating. I should also note that I made a tutorial this last week where we go into all of the various features inside of Sora, like the remix tool and the recut tool, that actually are very helpful on film projects. And not to be outdone, the team at Google also released their own version of an AI video generator this last week called VO2, and they also announced a new image generator called Imagen 3. Both of these tools are really powerful, and in many cases, people are saying that VO2 actually creates better video than Sora. So let's take a look at the tool. So here's a few different generations from the community. So we have this cinematic shot of a spaghetti ball spinning, which is pretty cool. I like the meatball moons. That's a really good touch there. We also have a close-up of a guy who's looking in a mirror, and it looks like his face is like in an anime style, whereas his real face is realistic. And it does a pretty good job. You can see there's a lot of physical dynamics. It understands objects that are hidden behind other objects, so really good understanding of object permanence there. We have this shot here of pancakes covered in bacon, and then we cut to a coffee being filled. So looks like, I don't know, like a late 90s Denny's commercial. Not a bad job there. And then we have the shot here of a researcher going up to a microscope, and honestly, it did a pretty good job. Now, to generate a video inside of VO, there's kind of two different options. The first is you can type in text and generate a video, which is pretty cool. You also have the ability to do image to video with one caveat. You actually aren't able to upload your own images, which make it incredibly challenging if you're working on an actual film project. But let me show you how to use it, because it is actually using Imagen 3 to generate the images, and then it takes those images and it animates it. So let's create, let's say, a barista working at a coffee shop. And the cool thing is, you can go in and, of course, you can prompt in your own prompt if you want to. They also have some different little carrots here that you can select that will kind of push your generation in a certain direction, just kind of serving as a preset. So I'll just do 35mm film. That's all I'm going to type in for now. Of course, if you were actually working on a film project, you probably would want to go into more detail. So when you're ready, we can go ahead and click Create Shot. Okay, so here is our image generation, and it did a really good job. I'd say at a quick glance, I wouldn't really notice anything off about this, especially because there are the appropriate number of fingers. And then just like details, like the latches on the apron look realistic. They don't look strange in any sort of way. Of course, if we really start to go in and analyze the scene, we can find a few things that are off, like the text in the background. It's not quite right. It doesn't quite line up. But for the most part, I think it did a really good job. And just to compare that image generation to Midjourney, I typed in the same prompt inside of Midjourney, and it gave me this, which is just like hyper cinematic. I wasn't looking for light leaks or anything like that. It gave me this image here. Again, I wasn't asking for black and white, but it gave it to me. This one here, again, way too much light leaks. And this one, again, is in black and white and really not what we're looking for. So I would say that from a strict prompt perspective, Imagen 3 did a much better job. So when you're ready to now add in the motion, you can click on the motion icon here. And now we can type in the motion that we're looking for. So after about 3 minutes inside of VO, we have our videos that have been generated. Let's take a look. So we have number 1 here. And yeah, looks good. Like he's holding the spoon, he's spinning it. Very clearly, that would look good if you just kind of use the part where he's kind of spinning the spoon in the cup. It gets really wonky there towards the end, but not a bad generation. We have generation number 2 here, and you can see it just cut to a completely different scene of him just holding the hot coffee above the espresso puck maker. What do you call that? The tamper. He's just holding it there and coffee's not coming out. So he has no idea how to make coffee. So not a great generation there. You can see we have this shot here. And what's pretty amazing about this, obviously the physics of him kind of touching the devices and doing his thing, it looks weird. What's wild though is it cut to basically a camera 2, right? So it's like it's doing a multi-camera production directly using AI. So very intelligent, but not the best generation. And then finally, we have this shot here, and I think that this is really the best result. Obviously, it kind of cuts to a random shot there at the end, which is not what we're looking for, although it could be from the same scene. But this part of the scene looks really amazing, and I should note that you can really see on the shadowing on the apron and the way in which the other character comes up and the way he looks up, it feels like a very natural human interaction. There are small parts that do look a little weird, especially the physical dynamics of like where the spoon goes. So you would need to cut around that inside a video editing application if you were to use this on a film project. But honestly, it did a really good job. Now, there's no word on when VO2 will be publicly available to everyone, but the team at Curious Refuge is partnering up with Google to give exclusive access to students and subscribers at Curious Refuge. So be sure to subscribe to our email list over at curiousrefuge.com. Just click the blue button in the top right corner and you can subscribe to our newsletter. We'll let you know when private seats open up and how you can gain exclusive access. And I should also note that I generated the exact same shot inside of SORA, and it created this shot here. So I don't really know what's happening. He's holding the coffee in a really weird way. And then he's like a magician. He just like has like milk coming out of his fingers, which is kind of horrifying in its own kind of way. So not really understanding what's going on there. And it also generated this shot here, which I don't love the color grading. And he's just able to activate milk coming out of his finger, which is probably a pretty lame superpower. But if you work as a barista, that would be kind of awesome just to be able to like inject milk into coffee. And there was also another AI video generator that popped up called Hunyuan. So this AI video generator is from China, and you have the ability to either generate a video on their website, or you can generate the video on fall.ai, which is a tool we use whenever we are working on Comfy UI projects or need to do custom model training. So a quick scan of some of the better generations from the tool. You can see there's this shot here of this kid in the snow, and there's like some fire nearby. I don't really know what's burning there. It looks like a fur coat. So actually, I think this kid lit that fur coat on fire. So we have a budding arsonist here. We have the shot here of this waterfall in this forest, and I would never think there's anything about this that is off. It looks completely realistic. We have a futuristic soldier standing here, and yeah, it did an amazing job. And we have this woman doing yoga, and yeah, really good physical dynamics. The birds in the background look really good. Like honestly, this looks like it was shot on a really expensive camera, so a really good generation from the tool. The video clips that you generate inside of Hunyuan are 5 seconds long, and they are in 720p. So not full 1080p HD, but pretty darn close. So to generate a video clip using the tool, you can go over to the Fall AI website, go to the Explore page and then search for Hunyuan, and you'll see the generator pop up. And from here, you can just type into the prompt box whatever you're looking for. So we'll say a young boy eating ice cream. And we have this kid, he's eating ice cream. And I don't like how he just took a big bite of that ice cream. That's very off-putting. But it did a pretty good job. And then we have this other shot here of a lizard drinking water that we generated. And yeah, it looks realistic. Like, I think it did a pretty good job. Now, the biggest limitation with this tool is the fact you don't have the ability to upload reference images at this time. So we can't fully recommend using it for a film production project. But I just wanted to note that this is definitely a company that you're going to want to keep an eye on because the generations look pretty darn good. Okay, so that was a lot of AI video generation news, but you're probably wondering which one's best. And to illustrate which one I think you should use, I actually wanted to do a quick experiment. So I went into all of the AI video generation tools and I basically typed in text and uploaded images to generate the best results. So the thing that I want you to focus on is more of the physics dynamics and less on the consistency between shots, because most of these tools allow you to upload images. So in terms of color grading and consistency, that probably would not be an issue if you are working on a film project. So just look at the physical dynamics. So first things first, let's take a look at Runway. So we have this coffee shop scene. We cut to a barista and we cut to a close-up of the coffee. So I like the close-up of the coffee, but the rest of the scene, there's kind of some weird morphing, so not my favorite result there. We also have this result from Luma. So we have a coffee shop, someone at an espresso machine, and then coffee being poured into a cup. I don't like any of these generations, and it's really static, so I don't think Luma did an amazing job here. We have this result from Kling. And the humans, it seems pretty realistic. That looks pretty good. And we have the coffee going into the coffee cup. And you can see it actually rises. So in terms of physical dynamics, Kling did a really good job. And here's the result from Minimax. So you can see people walking around, did a pretty good job. There is some weird warping, but not too bad. That shot could be better. And then we have a close-up of coffee being poured or motor oil or whatever that is. So I think that Minimax did an okay job, but not the best job with these generations. Now we have Google VO. So establishing shot here looks pretty good. That shot is really amazing. And then the shot here does look pretty good as well. The close-up looks fantastic. In terms of physical dynamics, I think it did an amazing job. And then finally, we have SORA here. So establishing shot, close up, looks pretty good. And then pouring the coffee into the cup, that also looks pretty good. So if we're going off just physical dynamics alone and realism, I'd say that Kling did the best in this quick test. That's not to say that it's the best tool for every situation. Many times you may want to use SORA for a generation or Runway. It all just depends on the shot and the aesthetic that you're going for. But at this point, it seems like Kling is just slightly better than Google VO, SORA, and Minimax, with Luma and Runway in that third tier at this point. So moving on to image generation news, the team at Midjourney came out with a new feature that is actually really helpful. It's called Moodboards, and essentially it allows you to create images in a consistent style again and again. Now, we've had style reference for a while, but this is basically a big leap forward, and it makes the entire process of prompting a lot easier. Let's hop into Midjourney and I'll show you how to use this tool. So to use Moodboard, all you have to do is go over here to the Personalize tab on the left, and we'll go ahead and select Create Moodboard. So we can give this moodboard a name. We'll call this Film Aesthetic Look. We could be more detailed if we wanted to. And you can see that you can upload images, you can add images with a link, and then you can add from your gallery inside of Midjourney. So if you want to generate a bunch of images and then take all of those images and make a style, you can do that very easily. So I'm going to upload my own images. These are images that I downloaded from Midjourney. You can, of course, use real live action images if you wanted to. And basically, I just have a lot of different images that have this kind of consistent aesthetic. It's kind of like a light teal and orange DSLR with some like crushed black level images. And let's say that I want to generate images in that aesthetic again and again. Well, it's really easy. You just select all of the images and click open, and it brings it inside of Midjourney. So after the images are uploaded, you're ready to generate an image. So all you have to do is click the copy code button. You'll see a code is put into the prompt bar at the very top. And let's go in here and type in a simple prompt. I'll just say a dog at the park. So we'll keep it really simple. Of course, you could go into much more detail about the framing and all of that, but we won't get into that in this video. And let's go ahead and generate this result. And let's take a look at the images here. So image number 1 didn't do a great job. Image number 2, yeah, we do have a dog at the park. I guess we could go in and negative prompt and say we don't want the person to be in the frame, but it did a good job. We have this shot of this dog at the park. Again, did a really good job. And this shot is good as well. So as you can see, it all kind of has that same color grading style. So we didn't have to go in and prompt in the specific color grades that we'd be looking for. It actually just understood it. So that's not to say that you shouldn't go in and type in the camera or the lens or the color grade that you're looking for, but it does make it much easier to get the consistent style that would work for the film project you're working on. The team at Pika Labs has released their 2.0 model, and there's a feature inside that you definitely should know about. It's called Ingredients, and basically you have the ability to upload elements that you'd like to include inside of your video, and it will generate that element in the video. So this could be a character, an item, a location, and it basically will use that information to generate the overall video. So it's not as much uploading an image frame and then generating a video from that. It's taking the element and putting it inside of the generation. So it's a lot of fun. They have a really interesting breakdown video of the new tools. So we have Matan from Pika here, and now he's flying around, and you can see it has this very specific haircut in the scene. It did a really good job. We have this video of Matan and a cat, and it did a really good job, and now he's riding the cat. And in their video, they talk about doing everything from like taking a selfie with a dead relative to doing all sorts of wild things, which is pretty crazy. But let me show you this tool in action. So I'm going to use their demo assets here. So basically, it's asking us to upload a picture of a person. So I'm going to use a photo of this woman here. This is from Midjourney, and let's say that we want to put her inside of the video. So we'll go ahead and bring her into the frame here. And you can see we also have this green jacket, and we also have this like studio background environment. So we want that specific character wearing this jacket in that studio. And they have a prompt down here. It's just a character wearing an outfit in a location, turning around and posing to the camera. So very, very basic. And you can see there's this button right here for precise versus creative. Precise is much closer to the character, objects, locations that you are prompting for, whereas creative gives more creative liberty to Pika. So when you're ready, go ahead and click the generate button. And after a couple minutes, it generated this result here, and it did a pretty good job. And you can see when it cuts to the close-up, that's definitely the character that we used from Midjourney. Now, that's not to say that there isn't something wrong with the scene, like the dynamics on the jacket are not quite right, and the face does get really soft. So I think if you were working on a professional project, you would probably need to do some face swapping just to stabilize the overall face, but it did a pretty good job. Now, I did the same generation using the creative setting, and it generated this video here. And we had to blur that out because that is a little too sexy for YouTube, but you get the idea. It has much more creative freedom. The actual character is not the original character that we were looking for, and it just overall adds more elements to the scene that you are not looking for. Now, I really wanted to test the limits of the tool, and so I uploaded a photo of myself, a photo of a coffee shop, and this like 18th century like aristocrat outfit. And I was curious if it would combine everything together, and it generated this video here, which honestly is pretty good. Like, it did a good job. That is not my face. Like, it definitely did not generate my face, but it kind of got the hair right. He has a mustache and he kind of has the same face shape as me, so not bad. You'd probably need to do some face swapping in order to make it really good. But it did generate the coffee shop scene, and the clothing looks really good. Like, that's really challenging clothing to pull off, and I think Pika really knocked it out of the park. I think the fact that Pika is really pushing into being a really fun tool that's not only for professionals, but also for just people looking to play around with AI is a really smart move. So many AI video generators are trying to be the very best AI video generator and appeal to both Hollywood and ad agency professionals, but having a tool that you can just play around with is really fun for mass audiences. So I would not be surprised if we see an API integration with Pika and all sorts of social media apps in the coming months. The team at Minimax came out with an AI video model that is especially fine-tuned for creating anime-style effects. Let me show you how to use it. So to use the tool, all you have to do is go to the Create button on the Hailu website. Remember, Minimax is Hailu. It's a little confusing. And all you have to do is bring in an image. I have this image that I generated of me at a Christmas market in an anime-style aesthetic, and it looks pretty cool. So I want to animate this scene, and you can go in and prompt the specific movement that you're looking for. I'll say a man walks around a Christmas market. And if you go down here to model and click, by default, it's probably in this I2V-01 setting, but they do have this 01-live that is specifically designed for 2D characters. So now you can select the number of generations that you want to see. So you can just go ahead and click 3 and go ahead and click render. So I actually did this render earlier. Let's take a look at all 3 examples. So here's the first one. So there's not a lot of movement to the video, and the characters in the background are kind of blurry. So it is a little weird, but not a bad job. And it definitely retains that kind of 2D anime aesthetic. We have this second generation here. You can see he's kind of walking around the market, and yeah, did a pretty good job. And then we have this final video clip here. He just kind of walks away. And honestly, it did a really good job. It retained kind of those 2D properties, kind of that Spider-Verse 3D meets 2D aesthetic that is really popular right now. So it did a really good job. And just to compare that to the same generation inside of SORA, this is what we got from SORA. And you can see it's just like a little weird, like it turns like hyper realistic towards the end. The people in the background are realistic. And you see that a lot with SORA. It tends to want to make everything photorealistic. So not the best tool if you're working on a 2D or 3D animation aesthetic. The team at Viggle released their 3rd generation of their model, and the results have been pretty awesome. So if you're not familiar with Viggle, it's basically a tool that allows you to take a video and replace the characters inside of that video. It's a lot of fun, and the new model actually looks pretty promising. So to demo this, here's a quick example from John Finger, who is a really great AI video influencer. Definitely recommend following him. So at the top, you have the original video, and in the middle, you have Viggle 3. On the bottom, you have Viggle 2. And in the top right, you can see we have an image of a character that we want to replace inside of the scene. And you can see that Viggle 3 looks really good. There's a lot of fidelity in the arm, a lot of consistency with both like the way the metal is on the shoulder, in the tattoos, in the jewelry he's wearing. It looks really, really good compared to Viggle 2 that was just much more soft. And we also came across this example from Uncanny Harry. He basically used Viggle, Runway, and 11 Labs together to create this 3D scene of this, like, I guess that's like Nosferatu, maybe, just like this like demon-looking vampire guy. And you can see it did a really good job. It created a really interesting 3D scene. And of course, I had to test it with that little Yachty video, so I put myself inside of that video. Here's the results. You can see the background, it still has no idea what to do. So lots of fuzziness around the actual character, but it did a pretty good job with the character replacement. Like it actually is understanding some 3D dynamics. It's not perfect, but not too bad. So I think it's a pretty good step in the right direction. It's not 100% perfect just yet, but I think the ability to just drag and drop to replace characters, to change the dynamics of a scene very easily is definitely the future of filmmaking. So we've talked a lot about video generators up to this point inside of the episode, but the actual biggest news from this last week comes from the gaming division at Google. So the team basically created a tool called Genie 2 that allows you to create an entire video game from a single uploaded image. So this isn't just creating a 3D world that you can explore, it actually has physical dynamics, from being able to swim to being able to interact with characters inside of the world, and it all happens in real time, which is pretty wild. The reason why this is so important is, up to this point, a game's dynamics have been determined through programming. A human has designed a world, and you basically play in that world. This tool is basically saying that in some capacity, the future of video games will be you being able to define what type of world and game you want to play, and that game will be generated in real time. So custom and specific games. So there's some pretty cool examples over on their website. So for example, we have this one here of this character exploring the pyramids, and you can see as the camera goes up and down, it understands the 3D world. So it's not just generating video, it's actually generating the entire 3D world in real time. And it generates a ton of different details. So we have this fantasy world here, and you can see that as we get closer to the water, the character actually goes into a swimming motion. So it understood walking versus swimming, and that it should be swimming whenever it got to the river. And the aesthetic is really interesting as well, because it understands everything from fantasy and 3D worlds to kind of platform style 3D environments, all the way to racing games. So it's not limited to one specific type of game. And what's also really wild is the tool understands physical dynamics to where you can actually interact with the environment. So it's not just like Minecraft, look around. You actually have the ability to destroy balloons, or maybe you want to blow up a barrel of explosives. Well, it can understand what those dynamics should be like as you play the game. And it also generates NPCs that you can interact with inside of the game. So it's pretty wild. So I think that this news really is the first big step forward towards kind of this Ready Player One style gaming experience, where you can create a world, characters can interact with you inside of that world, and it's all intelligent and custom for a specific person. And the last thing that I should note is it also has the ability to generate scenes from images. So real world images that you upload, it will actually take that image and allow you to create a video game from that image. So you'll be able to play games in the future from images that you've shot throughout your life, which is pretty wild. The team at Amazon has also announced a brand new intelligent AI system that has the ability to understand everything from videos to charts to documents. It basically is really good at understanding input information. And they've also announced a brand new image generator called Nova Canvas and a new video generator called Nova Reel. Now, the quality that we've seen from Nova Reel up to this point is not as good as some of the better AI video generators that are out there. It also seems like they're probably using Luma because they did announce a partnership with Luma Labs. But the fact that Amazon is putting weight behind this new image and video generator suggests that we will see a really good model from them very soon. We also have a few really big announcements from Runway. So the first big announcement is Runway Act One got an update that makes it a much more impressive tool for working on film projects. Let me show you how to use it. To use Runway Act One, just go to the Runway website, scroll down, go to Generative Session, and then click on this little icon on the left that says Act One. So the first thing that you're going to need to upload is a performance. And I have a performance here of Jagger at Curious Refuge. Let's take a look.
But no matter what I change in the performance, there's nothing to stop Caleb from using his hands this much.
That's fair. I think she's hazing me about my usage of hand gestures in the web show. So that's totally valid. I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop that inside of Act One. Okay, so the performance is in there. Now we need to add in the video that we are actually going to replace the performance of. And this is a big difference because you used to only be able to use images. Now you can actually use video. So go ahead and click the upload button, and now we can drag and drop our footage. So now we'll just drag and drop our footage into the frame here. I'll just use a video clip from a previous web show episode. And when you're ready, go ahead and click generate. Okay, and after a couple minutes, it generated the final result. Let's take a look.
But no matter what I change in the performance, there's nothing to stop Caleb from using his hands this much.
It did a pretty good job. Obviously, you can see there's a little bit of wonkiness with the lips, but it's not bad. I think it did a pretty good job. I think having the ability to control the performance and create a pipeline where you basically take reference images, you animate them, and then you take a performance that is more rudimentary and not shot on a super expensive camera, and you combine those elements together, it creates a very solid workflow that you can use to create dynamic performances inside of your AI films. But that's not the only announcement from Runway. It wouldn't be a week without Runway releasing multiple features for you to check out inside of their platform. The next one that I want to talk about is called Expand Video. It is really interesting. Basically, you can upload a video and you can expand the frame to showcase a wider angle. So basically, as long as you have a close-up, you can have a wide shot using this feature. It's pretty wild. Let me show you how to use it. So all you have to do is click that generative session icon, and on the left side, you'll see Expand Video. So go ahead and click on Expand Video, and now we can select our video. So I had this image of this family here, and then I generated a video inside of Minimax actually, and I'm going to bring it inside of Runway. And yeah, let's do a tall video. And of course you can go in and type in a prompt if you want, you don't have to, and then go ahead and click generate. Okay, and here's the final results. You can see it did a pretty good job. Now, I do think that the little girl looks a little too tall, like her legs look too tall compared to her torso, but honestly not a bad generation. And I wanted to do a few different tests as well. So we have this image from Midjourney and we animated it inside of Luma, and then we expanded the frame inside of Runway, and we got this clip, which it looks really good. Like it really understands 3D dynamics and the way that cameras move. So a fantastic job there. And then lastly, we have this source video, which is real stock footage. So this isn't AI generated, and we expanded the frame here, and you can see it really did an amazing job. So obviously the AI system does struggle with some object permanence in the newly generated AI parts of the video, but especially if you're using this for a social media context, let's say you have 16:9 video, but you need to expand it to 9:16, well, this tool is probably the easiest and best option out there. So moving on to future tools, the team at Runway also announced 2 new things this last week that are pretty interesting. The first is called Frames, and basically it is a custom trainable model that generates images inside of Runway. So it's great for generating consistent aesthetics again and again, and the results look like they're basically close to Midjourney quality. So hyper stylized, very high quality generations. I would bet that Runway, because of their partnership with Getty, trained their model on some of the more high quality Getty assets based on the images that were generated. So I'm really impressed. I think that the quality looks to be as good, if not better, than Midjourney. The problem is we just don't have access up to this point. And the second feature that I want to highlight is a new keyframing prototype that the team at Runway put together. Basically, it is a node-based system that allows you to upload images, and basically you can connect those images together, and AI will interpolate between those frames in what seems like real time. So it's kind of like the old animation style where you would have key frames and interpolate and have people do in-betweening between those frames, but AI will do that automatically and in a drag and drop style workflow. So it seems pretty cool. There's no word on when we will get access to either one of these 2 tools, but it is very interesting. In AI training news, there was a report from The Atlantic that came out this last week that basically said that 139,000 films and episodes of TV were used to train AI models. But the problem is those scripts were not uploaded or ingested by the AI system. Instead, AI scraped a website called opensubtitles.org that gave the rights for people to scrape that website. and then it created an understanding of what the films were about. So this is an important note because as these court cases begin to pop up where studios or writers are suing AI systems for scraping their source material, that's not actually what is happening. It's kind of like it's scraping someone's explanation of the words that happened inside of the actual film. So how this plays out, I have no idea. I just thought it was pretty interesting. In music news, the team at Suno came out with Suno version 4, and the quality is the best version of the tool that we've seen up to this point. Let me show you how to use the tool. All you have to do is go to the Suno website, go ahead and click Create. So for our description, we'll say an indie pop song about an AI filmmaking web show by Curious Refuge. You can go ahead and click on the version and click on version 4 at the top and go ahead and click Create. Okay, the generation took about 10 seconds. Let's listen to the result.
Rhythms weave through a script page, turning cold code into a lively craze. Oh, pixel dreams and coded schemes, a virtual world bursts at the seams.
Okay, so I'm kind of hearing, I feel like some Owl City in that. And let's listen to the second result.
Lights flicker on the Curious Refuge screen. An AI mastermind, the unseen dream.
So you get the idea. The fidelity is a lot better. It's not perfect. You can still tell that the voice kind of has that modulation to it that makes it come across as not 100% realistic just yet, but of course we will be there very soon. In white paper news, some researchers from the University of Washington put together a motion tracking tool called Samurai that basically intelligently understands how to track somebody, and it's really amazing. So they have a shot from 1917 here, and you can see old versions of motion tracking like using SAM2, which is developed by Meta, versus Samurai. Samurai understands what is happening. It understands where the character should be, even when the character is covered up by other objects. So it does an amazing job. We have this shot here of Saquon Barkley basically jumping over the Jacksonville defender here backwards. I still have no idea how he did it. And you can see it really understands and intelligently is able to create a mask around the character. And then finally, we have this scene here of this pop star dancing. And you can see that as the character goes behind other characters, it understands what to mask and what to leave out, and it understands where the person should be inside of the scene. So obviously tools like this have really big implications for the utility side of working on a film project, whether you're doing color grading and you need to make a mask or straight up need to remove somebody from a scene. Having the ability to rotoscope and outline and define who your character is in a very intelligent way is incredibly important. In robot news, we should definitely not find concerning at all. A robot actually kidnapped 12 other robots. So the story's kind of wild. Basically, there's a factory where robots are working, and the smaller robot goes into the factory and basically says these are unfair working conditions, and it convinced the larger robots to leave the work floors. So that's some very human-like behavior, creating a walkout on your job there. So it's really important to note that there are a lot of security vulnerabilities with these new systems that, of course, need to be worked out. Back here in Hollywood, Ben Affleck actually came out a couple weeks ago and said that AI has the ability to reduce cost, streamline workflows, and really democratize filmmaking. So it's really interesting to see someone really high level coming out in support of AI and its use on creative projects. Now, obviously, not everybody was very happy with Ben for sharing his opinion on AI systems, but increasingly more celebrities, producers, and professionals in the Hollywood industry are realizing that AI is very much an empowering tool that allows them to get their creative vision out there where they don't have to ask other people for permission to create their film. And our final news of the week is a competition that you should definitely know about. It's called Project Odyssey, and it's sponsored by a lot of incredible websites, including Civitai, Kling, 11 Labs, Viggle, Leonardo, FreePic, ComfyUI, LTX, and Curious Refuge. So the competition is giving away up to $70,000 in prize money, and there's a ton of different categories that you can submit films to. They have narrative, music video, marketing, trailers. Basically, go check out the website and you can submit your work. Submissions are now open, so I highly recommend checking out the competition. And that brings us to our AI Films of the Week. The first film that I want to highlight is called Infinite Dreamers by AI Deal TM. This project is really interesting because it has consistent characters, really over-the-top visuals, and I love the soundtrack. It's just really a creative project. I think you did an amazing job on the project. Next up, we have Fracture Prompt Club #1, fantastic name, by Stephanie Benini. The project basically is all about this like monkey contemplating life. It's kind of a 2001 Space Odyssey kind of scene, if you will. And it really features really nice dynamic curation. They basically used a combination of Midjourney, Runway Gen 3, and Kling to create some really nice cinematic shots. And the final project that I really think you should check out is one of the best advertising projects using AI that I have ever seen. The project is called The Rhythm of Life for Vodafone, and it was created by Sebastian Strasser. It really has a lot of shots that are indistinguishable from reality. Like if I saw this commercial on my TV screen, I probably would not notice that it's AI right off the bat. I definitely recommend checking it out. And then finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has attended a Curious Refuge meetup. We had a meetup in Atlanta and a meetup in Baton Rouge. It looked really fun. And altogether, we've had over 26 meetups this last year all around the world with people inside of the AI filmmaking community. Of course, if you want to see if an AI filmmaking event is popping up in your area, be sure to check out the AI film event page over on our website. And of course, if you want to get the latest AI filmmaking tutorials or news delivered directly to your inbox, be sure to subscribe over on Curious Refuge. Okay, holy smokes, that was a gigantic episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. It's super helpful whenever you do that. And if you have any ideas for future videos or tutorials that you'd like to see, be sure to let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing holiday season. We'll see you soon.